are sleeping in their cars, drawing blood to afford to pay for gas to get to work. So the situation financially is dire for officers.
Everything's getting more expensive, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports wholesale prices were up a lot more than expected last month, 0.7%, to their highest rate in a year. The numbers released ahead of today's announcement on interest rates. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
This is a meeting where the Fed is likely going to sit on its hands because prices are accelerating, and the Fed does not want to cut interest rates into that potential re-acceleration of the overall inflation rate.
Brent crude prices up 5%, Dow down 210. This is CBS News.
Looking for spring jewelry looks? Find them at Jewelry Television. New customers get $20 off purchases of $99 or more at jtv.com.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I own a coffee shop, and I wanted to label everything with our logo.
That's ambitious.
Cups, boxes, bags.
Ooh, that'll add up.
Not at all, because right now, Staples prints custom labels for 30% off.
30% off? That's shockingly affordable branding.
Yep, now our logo and URL are seen all over town.
Brand your business for less at Staples.
That was easy.
Shop Staples in store, online, or in the app by 442 Unlock. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn safe listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome in to the Wednesday Roundtable. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates, and the Blue Raider Network. Glad to have you with us on this Wednesday. It's starting to warm back up a little bit after the ridiculousness of the last couple of days, but it is going to warm back up a little bit. It's going to be 80 by the weekend. So, again, as we always say, if you don't like the weather in Tennessee, just hang around for about a half an hour and it'll change. Always glad to have our guest today, Chris Jones, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric. He is kind enough to subject himself to an hour with me once or twice a year, and it is always enlightening and informing, and I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. It's always good to see you, Chip, but no, I enjoy this, so yes, sir.
It is, and goodness knows you guys were in the news, 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Which is, it seems, when one side of you seems like last week, and the rest of it seems like a long time ago. But
it does.
But we're going to talk a little bit, or talk a good bit about how you all plan for that and the aftermath and all of that. But just to kind of set the table a little bit for folks who we always have folks who are new in the area. Just kind of the elevator speech of exactly what a cooperative is and where Middle Tennessee Electric falls as a utility to the 359,000 customers you have over this 4-county area.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Chip. So, we're a not-for-profit electric cooperative owned by the members we serve. We are a local distribution cooperative electric provider. So we all of the power that we distribute comes from, virtually all of it, comes from the Tennessee Valley Authority. They generate and transmit the power, and then we distribute it locally. And like you mentioned, 4-county area primarily, Rutherford, Williamson, Wilson, Cannon, and then we bleed over into, we touch 12 other counties besides those 4, but not much.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot. So, and again, by virtue of where we serve, we've grown fast over the years. Actually, May 11th will be the 90th birthday of Middle Tennessee Electric, so we've been around for a long time. But again, from the standpoint, like you mentioned, of those who might be new to the area, we exist again, to just simply serve our members. Our purpose is about making life better for those we serve, and we want to primarily, fundamentally deliver affordable, reliable electricity to our members.
Yeah, and you have one of the huge challenges you have is the area you serve is one of the fastest growing areas in the country, certainly in the state. But there are challenges that go with that.
Absolutely, it's those Williamson, Rutherford, Wilson, as we all know, who've been here for a while. They routinely show up in the 5 fastest growing counties in the state. I think they've been in that top 5, those 3 counties, for 30 years. So we have seen a lot of growth. We are seeing growth, and we expect to continue to see growth. People want to be here. It's a great place to live, great place to be, and we want to be part of making sure that that continues from our perspective as an electric provider.
Yeah, and that puts okay. How do we make sure we have enough and all of that? One thing when it comes to growth, and this is. And I work in real estate. I know a little bit about this, but let's say a developer comes in, puts in a new subdivision.
Yeah,
that never happens. But a developer puts in a new subdivision. Well, like on the roads in those, they have to build the roads to certain specs, and then typically the city or county will take them over once that happens. What about the utility infrastructure that goes along with developments? Where does the cost of that lie?
Yeah, so and again, from the standpoint of how we do that, and speaking of the ice storm, one thing I might want to say on the outset of that is that when we have new developments anywhere in our service territory, like new subdivision, the standard is going to be that we put that service underground, because there's been some questions about underground overhead. Now,
well, I think a lot of those got answered.
I think so too. So our standard is underground, and from the standpoint of those kinds of areas, to us, we think that when we pencil that out, it's just as economical to do that underground versus overhead. Now, eventually, that line goes out to a feeder, which is very likely going to be overhead, because those big feeders that go along main roads, those are very expensive to put underground.
Right.
And so, but I wanted to point that out, given the ice storm. As we work with developers, typically, there's a balance that we try to come to with regard to cost, because we work with those developers to assess what would be what we call a contribution in aid to construction. So there's a certain amount of upfront cost, but then there is generally speaking, there is cost that we as a cooperative of members will absorb from an infrastructure standpoint. So in the most classic example is probably, we build substations, and those substations are where we take the power from TVA, and those substations are they're going to last a long time, but they're very expensive. So we're going to, if you will, to an extent, socialize the cost of infrastructure like that. Now, when we come down to subdivision level and we're developing as new construction, we're going to ask for a contribution by when working with the developer to figure out how do we do that, so that all the cost of a new development is not, the membership doesn't bear the brunt of that full cost. It's balanced out. There's a certain amount that's socialized, but there's also a certain amount that's contributed at the outset and during the construction.
Almost like an impact fee.
Yeah, very much like that.
Very similar to that.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, being underground, knock on wood, I've lived in my house almost 30 years, and I think I could count on almost one hand, but for sure 2 hands, the amount of times that I've had any sort of lengthy outage whatsoever, and part of that was the longest one I think we ever had was one of our underground transformers blew up, and everybody in the neighborhood went out. But that was part of that. But it lends itself to less outages, doesn't it?
It does. Less frequent outages. Now,
Right.
there's always from a philosophical standpoint, as you think about planning out a system, you'll have less frequent outages with the underground system, but the outages that do occur tend to be longer in duration. And again, there's a balance there. And I think we have a good balance. And one thing I would assure those who are listening, and I know by and large that would be folks that we serve, with your electric cooperative, when we compare ourselves to other utilities nationally, we rank in the top 10% in reliability, service reliability, in affordability. That's in terms of the rate that we charge. Our rate per kilowatt hour is in the top 10% of low rates in the country, in the United States. And then our customer satisfaction, which we also measure very routinely, religiously almost, is also in the top 10% nationally. So we want to do a good job for those we serve. We need to do an even better job, but by any measure you want to take, Middle Tennessee Electric delivers well for its members.
Yeah, and that's something obviously you all take a lot of pride in your role as CEO. You want to continue to hit those benchmarks.
Absolutely. That's what we're driven by, Chip.
Yeah.
So we talk about that a lot, and we're striving to be the best we can.
Yeah, and again, as part of there's been a lot of comparing and contrasting of MTE with other utilities, and locally, obviously, NES is a big one. You've got other cooperatives, Duck River, Meriwether Lewis, Caney Fork, all of those. How does right now, because obviously there's a lot of focus on NES, how is their organization set up different than what you guys are?
So they are a municipally owned electric system, much like the city of Murfreesboro used to own Murfreesboro Electric, several years ago, and of course we merged and came together. But Nashville Electric Service (NES) is owned by the city of Nashville, so they are not for profit, just like we are. They receive their power, the vast majority of it, from TVA, just like we do. But the difference primarily is in regard to governance. So their board is appointed by their mayor and confirmed by the city council, where, for example, with regard to governance, our board of directors are elected by the membership. So there are many questions, of course, Chip, swirling around this situation. And I have good friends at NES, and so it's been difficult, to see some of them go through what they've been going through, candidly. But I am so proud of the way that our team performed through the ice storm, and again, they NES is under a lot of scrutiny with regard to that. Of course, their outage situation was much more challenging than ours was, and I think there are several reasons for that. But certainly, one thing that I know with regard to my friends at NES, they care very much about what they do. They want to serve well, and I know they're working hard to rectify some of the things they discovered through this process.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, gosh, thank goodness, that wasn't. It wasn't me sometimes when things happen, but and I'm not sure if the actual ice was any worse in their footprint as it was than it was here or not. But obviously, you all have had preemptive steps that, and in particular when it comes to tree trimming. And as a matter of fact, as I drove in on Broad Street / Manchester Highway, I saw some laying on the ground right there from work that was being done, trimming some trees back along that road. But we've got a few minutes here before our first break. Kind of what is the philosophy of tree trimming and right away as far as an electrical easement, those kind of things, as far as MTE is concerned?
So for us, Chip, it's it's the most. If it's not the most fundamental, it's close to it. In terms of importance with regard to maintenance for the system, and so we know that if we're not maintaining our vegetation across our service territory along the lines the way that we should be, then very quickly tree-caused outages are what's going to be number one in terms of reasons for outages. So we have to, if you will, claim our right-of-way. So we have to make sure that we know what it is. And for us, it's going to be 20 feet on either side of the line in the more rural areas, and then sometimes in the more urban areas, 15 feet. So we want to, if you will, claim that right away. We want to make sure that we clear it, and then we maintain it going forward, because there is the issue certainly of outages and tree limbs making contact with the power lines, which creates problems. There's also safety of our employees, safety of our members, and trees making contact with power lines are very much a safety issue. So we are called to make sure that we're being vigilant with that maintenance. And so that's a call. And we've got 15,000 miles of line out there. Now, a good percentage is underground, but that's a lot. So we are constantly working, and an important piece of it is, we've been historically vigilant about making sure that we're trimming the trees and maintaining vegetation, but we're trying to do that at the same time working closely with our members, because this can be a difficult issue from the standpoint of member relations, and we want our members to be satisfied with the work that we're doing and know that we are hearing from them and work with them carefully as we're doing this very important work. But certainly, Chip, I think it showed up during this ice storm that doing that work the right way pays great dividends. In Williamson County, where we were hit the hardest with the ice was in Williamson County,
West Williamson County,
especially West Williamson County,
Fairview, out that way.
Yes, that was the hardest hit for us, and then northwestern Rutherford County, and then western Wilson County. That's where we had the most ice accumulation, about 3/4 to an inch of ice in that area. So, and anytime you have more than a half of an inch of ice, you're going to have trouble. If you get up into 3/4, you know for sure you're going to have trouble, and then above that, it gets more grim and challenging.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now, and I'm kind of curious. Let's turn the clock back to, I don't know, last summer, something like that.
Yeah.
When you all would get calls regarding tree trimming, how much of it was, y'all don't need that to trim back that much, or how much of it was, hey, I need y'all to come out here and trim some more? Because I think MTE has a reputation of having I don't know if necessarily aggressive policy, but a policy that is certainly going to obviously pay dividends down the road, and while it might make for an ugly tree for a little while, you think, okay, now I'll look on the backside of that. I'll take having heat and light during the wintertime.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I think we want to take a balanced approach. We want to make sure that we're doing right by the membership as a whole, but we're going to work with individual members who have concerns and be very careful with that. So what we have done, and again, for ice storms, Chip, you don't prepare for that the week before. I mean, you're preparing for years for the ice storm that's coming, because you know that it's coming. It's just a question of when it's coming. And for us, ice is the most debilitating of all the weather events that we can face as an electric system. But again, we're working hard to make sure that we're being vigilant, maintaining the rights of way, working with our members. And we have on staff, we have a number of certified arborists. So we have staff members who work every day in making sure that we're doing this work a smart and productive way.
So it's not just willy-nilly, we're just chopping down.
We have it's significant effort from a financial standpoint, from a human resources standpoint, and it's every day for us.
Yeah. Coming to you from the MTE studios here at WGNS. Glad to have Chris Jones of Middle Tennessee Electric with us, and we will kind of go through the TikTok of what the ice storm was like when we return after this on the Roundtable here on WGNS.
When it comes to your child's health,
you want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
For every boo-boo.
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
Well, yeah, I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
When the weather turns bad, minutes, even seconds matter.
This is an early heads up for southern Rutherford County.
Rutherford Weather brings you live radar and expert meteorologist insight, giving you the early heads up when storms threaten.
A lot of areas are going to see some impacts from this storm.
From analysis to live camera views, we keep you informed before, during, and after the storm.
I think the vast majority of the hail with this now is going to be quarter to perhaps golf ball size.
Rutherford Weather. Stay ahead of the storm.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Now, Good Neighbor Events. Here's Bart Walker.
Maybe you're new to town and want to learn more about our local history. Head over to the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse Saturday, anytime between 9 in the morning and noon. This Saturday, the Rutherford County Historical Society is there sharing local history, and it's all free, including the coffee and donuts. Ransom School is at 717 North Academy Street in Murfreesboro. The Parkinson Support Group meets on the first and third Friday of each month at the St. Clair Senior Center. That's at 325 St. Clair Street. You've heard us talking on the radio about Greenhouse Ministries and how they need volunteers. Why don't you attend one of their volunteer orientation sessions and see if you fit in? These volunteer sessions are every Wednesday afternoon at 2 or every Thursday morning at 10. And if those don't fit your schedule, they have another volunteer orientation on the last Saturday of each month at 9 in the morning. Greenhouse Ministries is at 307 South Academy Street. Give the gift of life. Give blood at the Red Cross. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor Events.
Rutherford weather.
Mainly cloudy today with a chance of rain showers. High temperatures reach up to 58. Lows dip down to about 39 tonight. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently 39.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. If you've recently changed your phone number or email, make sure you update your details at MTE.com. It's the best way for MTE to reach you quickly with important outage updates.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Chris Jones, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric, joins us for the hour today, and we've hit a few topics here, but this segment we're just kind of going to dive into the ice storm and how things handled from pre-storm to post-storm and all that went into it. When the first forecast that came out. And you guys look at the weather probably as much as anybody. The first forecast that came out was saying 16 to 18 inches of snow.
Yeah, I know.
And that was about 10 days out. And and most good meteorologists will tell you that's too far out. Give us, within 72 hours we can pretty much hit the nail on the head, which they don't get enough credit for how accurate they really are. And but when you all first saw that, you knew there was going to be a major event of some sort. So what kind of things did you put in motion?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Chip, this one was as well advertised in terms of it early.
Something was going to happen.
Yeah, as anything I can remember from a winter weather standpoint. So we, and again, several days we were thinking and we were hearing a major snow event. Now, I'm a snow lover, so I'm always skeptical when snow is predicted because it always ends up being something other than what they predicted. But I guess around. And I've got my calendar pulled up here in front of me, Chip, to help jog my memory. But the weather, the ice really hit on the 24th and 25th.
That was what day?
January. This is Saturday
into
but then
Sunday.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it was around the Wednesday, the 21st, that they started talking about ice accumulation being possible. And then as the days wore on, that certainty and the amount of the ice changed quite dramatically. Mm-hmm. So on the 22nd, that Thursday, I remember we pulled together everyone had been preparing. We there's a big weather event coming. We need to make sure we got enough trucks and have people on standby, have contract crews on standby, stuff like that. But then by the 22nd, we had a meeting, and it was all hands, meeting of management operations, thinking about what we needed to prepare for, everything from communications to having material staged in the field at different locations and things like that. But on that day, it was, we might get a quarter of an inch of ice, and that would, that's problematic, but no big deal for us, really, if I can put it that way. But then the next day, Friday, that confidence increased significantly that we were going to get closer to a half inch of ice, and it was going to hit our service territory. Now, by that, just to show you how the forecast shifted over those couple of days, we were thinking it was going to be more easterly, and then it became more westerly. Mm-hmm. And then by Saturday, we knew that we were under the gun, and Williamson County and parts of Rutherford and Wilson in particular. And about 24 hours out, the forecast that they made about 24 hours out turned out to be quite accurate, actually. And again, it's hard to predict winter weather for our area. If you've lived here long enough, we're always right on that line. And it's just
Davis Nolan comes on here fairly regularly, and he says the hardest thing in the world is to predict winter weather in Middle Tennessee because it is such a fluid situation because of geography and everything else. But as you got into Saturday and Saturday night, and the ice kept accumulating, overnight on Saturday night into Sunday morning, everything changed.
It popped, and it really changed, Chip, from the standpoint of how it affected the weather, the electric system. I mean, obviously the ice was accumulating, but the impact happened almost within a 2-hour window. And our team, again, I want to give credit where credit's due, and it's due to the team, not to me. But again, we were having these meetings every day, usually morning and afternoon, making preparations. Again, getting team members ready, getting crews staged and prepared, getting material staged and prepared, getting communications ready, getting our technology system, getting everything ready. And we predicted, my team members did, and Dan DeMint, who leads operations, and Jim Raines, who leads our line crews, they said, we have to be ready to mobilize by 6 a.m. on Sunday. And sure enough, we were watching things, and between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. and then 5:30, we went from about having, a couple of hundred outages to having almost 30,000 outages in that 2-hour window. Mm-hmm. And our team was there and ready, and we got after it. We got after it right away. We had extra crews we brought in to help us, and they got after it right away.
Now, the extra crews, do you all have standing relationships with, quid pro quo? Something happens in Florida, you help them. Something happens in Tennessee, they help you.
Exactly, and it one of the great virtues of electric cooperatives. And this extends to municipal systems too, but it's just the mutual aid, as we call it, that we render for each other. And we have, and it seems like every year we'll go down to help with hurricane assistance, somebody. And the statewide organizations coordinate one with the other to do that. So we had people to come help us from sister electric cooperatives that we had helped years ago. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of based on how your state is affected and how that state can mobilize to help other states. But we also have a number of contract relationships with companies like Service Electric, Groves Electric, Power Grid, through an umbrella company called Quanta, and then we have other relationships that we can leverage too. So we were doing our utmost to make sure we had enough resources right away, because a distinction with a ice storm, there are a few distinctions, but a way an ice storm will hit us is, it creates a number of outages, and people who are out of power, but it creates a number of individual incidents that have to be looked at. And so if you were watching our outage map, you may have noticed that, okay, the outages went from 30,000 down to 15,000 pretty quickly, but the number of incidents, individual outages that we were determining,
didn't change that much.
It went up.
Oh,
it went because as you bring power back to a big subdivision, okay, that's a lot of people, and you get a number of outages restored. But then you discover within that subdivision that there are 15 issues you have to look at. So you cut the number of people down a lot, but the number of incidents went up because you discovered 15 new outages, if you will, tree issues that have to be looked at.
Now, Sunday morning, you've got 30,000 outages across the basically the 4-county area. But you also have had an ice storm that comes through. What are your biggest challenges at that point? Is it, because the roads are bad, it's extremely cold, and before you can get lines and poles back up and transformers back on, you've got vegetation crews that have to go out. How do you all of that maneuvering that goes back to operations and how certain things have to happen in a certain order for it to get back right.
That's right. And sometimes you don't know until you get there,
right?
What you're going to be dealing with in terms of especially roads and trees. But there were several places on day one that we wanted to get to that we could not get to because of the road situation and trees. So we had to have both our right-of-way team out there with their contractors clearing trees and whatnot, not just from the lines, but also from the roads. We had help from local emergency management agencies in helping us clear roads. And ultimately, we had help from TDOT to come and help us clear roads, which was a big help. And I appreciate
the governor had an executive order that allowed TDOT to
That's right.
do that kind of stuff.
And electric cooperatives.
Things really started to pick up up when that happened.
Oh, it did. And electric cooperatives asked for the governor's help there, and he stepped up, and we appreciate that. But yeah, and not just the trees, but the conditions of the road with the ice, and it being, like you said, Chip, so cold. Many of these areas are covered with shade, so they don't get the sunlight. Even in 10 degrees, sunlight can help. There are
hollers where the sun doesn't get to.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had to have, in some cases, bulldozers to come and pull our bucket trucks to a location so we could do the work we needed to do. I mean, that's why the work was slow going in some areas, among the reasons why. So, so the many challenges, food being another one. So we want to make sure that our crews aren't having to think about how am I going to, get something to eat because I haven't eaten in 8 hours.
Get food to them instead of them going to food.
Exactly. So it's a lot of logistics in an effort like this.
Now, as far as and again, crew rest, that kind of thing, and they were working tons of hours, but what were you all trying to do to get them enough rest in a 24-hour period to where they could continue to be productive?
Yeah. So and it's a little easier with the line crews because it's more regimented from a standpoint of shifting. So we are going to make sure they're going to get rest after 16 hours. And again, we've got other crews to replenish and to shift out. And we're going to work through the night, but our crews during the night aren't going to be as robust for a couple of reasons. In an ice storm situation, you can't see trees that are falling. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, you can hear them, and it's a scary situation. So we're going to try to put them in positions where they can work safely. They don't have to worry about things like that. And you just the scale is a little less during the evening. We're still working. So that piece of it. But then, going into this, something I emphasized to the team that I know was going to be challenging for many team members is you're running on adrenaline. You want to see this job done. You want to get out there and do your best for the membership. Sometimes it's hard for people in management, or not just management, but any position where you want to get out there and work, to take your shift. You got to get rest. So we're emphasizing going into this. Okay, if to do your best for Middle Tennessee Electric, when your shift is over, go home and do your best to get rest so you can come back in 8 hours and be fresh and you hit the next shift. But it's so hard sometimes for people that aren't as regimented in our shifting to kind of to do that. So a lesson learned coming out of this was we need to be more mindful and intentional with the whole team in terms of making sure that we're doing our shifts the right way.
Yeah. The other thing you all did and have gotten good marks on is you immediately on Sunday, and maybe even before Sunday, you all used whatever channels you could, in particular social media, to have not only updates, but regular updates that your customers could know, okay, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there should be something new up from MTE. Okay, it's 5 o'clock now, and Chris Jones has probably put a video up. But you all were very intentional about being as open as you could, and I think that's paid dividends for you.
Well, I think so too, Chip, and kudos to the communications team, because going into that Sunday when it was about 5 or 5:30, and I saw that the number of outages we had, and got the sense it was going to be more than a one-day event. I challenged the communications team to let's have updates every hour on the hour through the duration of this event, and they stepped up and did it, and they did a phenomenal job, not just in doing those regular updates, but also in making sure that we're responding to the social media questions and concerns that are coming up. They did a phenomenal job of that as well, and I kudos to them for doing that. But yeah, that did pay dividends for us, Chip, I think, because I had so many people to just seeing in public, they might not even know me, to say, hey, we just appreciate you guys keeping us informed, because it was I had a lady come up to me and say, my son and I were watching that, and my son was worried. We had been without power for a couple of days, and we saw your update, and he said, well, I think everything's going to be okay. And that hearing something like that really was gratifying. That people were helped by the efforts we were making with regard to communication. And And yeah, we were done, Chip. And it hit us on Sunday hard, and by we whittled those numbers down considerably after one day, but we were done on Wednesday. And by Wednesday night, we had everybody back on in some very, very challenging conditions. And so the team across the board just performed extremely well, and I'm so very proud of them.
Now you had line crews out there, and one of the other parts of that too is some of those line crews. I promise you, they probably didn't have power at their house.
Right, exactly.
And they're having to, they're having to do the work for your customers, but they're also having to, in the back of their mind, they're worried about what's going on at their house.
Absolutely right, and
they've got to be in line just like everybody else.
Well, that's it, and same for people who are working in the contact center. They might not have power at their house, but they're coming into the office or getting online to make sure they're responding to member questions.
Did you all lose power at the office?
We did not.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, we did not.
That's all right. All right, Chris Jones, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric, is here, and kind of riveting to hear him go through what went on during the ice storm. We're going to talk about this past weekend storm just a little bit, and issues that are facing the electric industry as we move forward here in the final segment coming up on the Roundtable on WGNS.
When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
At Maples Realty and Auction, we handle traditional sales, auctions, and property management. And we have a development called The Maples with local builders and amenities. I'm Betsy Maples, and this is our team. It's our people. That's the difference. Call us today and let us help you get your property sold.
I refer a lot of clients to Maples Realty when we have real estate issues that are coming up. Working with Maples has been easy for me, easy for my clients.
Put our 57 years of success to work for you. Sold!
Local farmers, local meats, vegetables, and other produce at the Winter Spring Rutherford County Farmers Market.
Bundle up and make your way every Friday at Lane Agri Park.
Insurance should be simple, not complicated. That's why at Rayburn Insurance, Agent Rick Hull cuts through the jargon and helps you understand your options clearly. He's committed to finding the right coverage that fits your unique needs and budget. Their team has been a trusted partner in the community since 1973. Ready to make insurance easy? Get with Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. He's ready to help you get the protection you deserve.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into the roundtable, our final segment going up to the top of the hour with Chris Jones, the CEO of Middle Tennessee Electric. And obviously you guys did a lot of postmortem after the storm. What did you learn? And as far as, obviously, you want to find out, okay, we did a lot of things right. Yeah. Well, what did you find out? Okay, here's some things we can improve on moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting because one thing I found out was how critical our team can be of itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's, and I agree, Chip, I was just so proud of the team. And again, we, got a lot of support from our members, which we appreciate, and a lot of recognition for the job we did. But, as they did what we call after-action review, they, came up with pages of information. We could have done this better. We could have done that better. So there are many specifics that go into that. We had some technology glitches that we depend on certain vendors for certain programs and softwares we have in place, and thankfully we have good relationships with those vendors. Thanks to my team and John Harris, who leads that team, that we could fix on the fly, and we had to do that on Sunday. But we learned some lessons through that. I'll point back to the shifting piece that we talked about a while ago, making sure that, if we face or when we face one day in the future a multi-outage kind of an event, that we are going to make sure that we're being more intentional with shifting. One thing that we do, you mentioned we support hurricane relief, and we certainly do that with other companies on the coast. And one thing I've noticed about what they do is they bring in different complements of crews. And what I mean by that is, typically you have a 4 or 5 man crew that works off of a bucket, and they do different functions. But they also, and during hurricanes, they call for a number of 2-man, what we call service crews, that can be more dispatchable. They can go do onesie twosie kind of work, in single outages, and be more mobile and flexible. Typically in storm relief, we don't call for that many 2-man crews, but with an ice storm, we found very quickly the value of having a number of 2-man crews. So we asked for those on day number 2, a bunch more than we had, and they really helped us. So going into the next one, whenever that is, we'll be more mindful of that, for example. So that's just a couple of examples.
Yeah. Now, this past weekend, we had a wind event, and the thing is, everybody's concerned about tornadoes, and rightfully so. But when you had 80-mile-an-hour winds, that affects everybody, and not just who's in a tornadic path, which can be much more devastating to the line that it's in. But when you had 80-mile-an-hour winds across your entire coverage area, and I was watching the outage map, and boy, it there were a couple that popped up there that went away pretty quickly. But outside of ice, wind can be the next worst thing for you guys.
Yeah, and especially like a major straight line wind event, like you were pointing out. And this had the makings of that. Thankfully, it wasn't quite as grim as what we feared it could have been. But there were examples, Chip, and one in Smyrna where we had whether it was a downburst or a straight line wind, whatever actually happened. There were winds strong enough to topple 4 poles. That just snapped 4 poles altogether. And it, when one falls in an area, it makes the other ones more susceptible. But at the same time, 4 snapped on us, so we had to repair that. And that was before the front in earnest really arrived. So, we had several incidents across the system, but thankfully never more than, over the course of that storm, across our whole service territory, never more than about 2,500 out at one time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, any idea how many poles you lost?
During the ice storm? Yeah, I think we lost in the vicinity of 150 or a little less than that, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, and when you replace a pole, that's a big job. I mean, it's so lots of poles replaced.
All right. Issues facing MTE as far as in the entire power grid, as we talked about, there's always a demand for more power.
Sure.
And when you're in an area of growth, where is it going to come from? And TVA has its own set of issues right now. How does the scrutiny that TVA is getting, how does that trickle down to the local consumer?
Well, it's a great and big question, Chip, and something we're very concerned about because there's a lot of political pressure on TVA from from various perspectives. And TVA, we depend on TVA. They're our partner. Again, they generate 95+% of the power we distribute. We have a historical, long-term, all requirements contract with TVA. The way that things are set up here in the Tennessee Valley and in all of Tennessee is this model where TVA generates and transmits the power, and then we distribute it. And it's proven itself to be very valuable over many, many years. And again, we have low.
And it's been the model for the country.
I would argue that as well.
Yeah.
So we've had affordable rates and reliable power for a long time. Again, from the standpoint of the rate per kilowatt hour. If we were a gas station and the country was a city and we're driving around trying to find the lowest gas prices,
they'd all be coming to you.
We'd compare very, very well.
Right.
So now what you do with the gas when you pump it in the car or the electricity when it comes to your meter, that's your choice, and we can talk about that. Maybe that's another time I can come back and talk about energy efficiency and use. But so if something affects TVA, it could ultimately impact reliability and affordability, and that's what we're concerned about because of this scrutiny that's being placed on TVA. I think they're doing a good job right now of building more generation capacity. That was a concern about 5 years ago, 3 years ago with the rolling blackouts, we'll remember. They've done a really nice job of increasing capacity. So when it got so super cold on the heels of the ice storm, TVA had no issue in delivering enough power to us. So we were happy about that. They need to continue that because, as you mentioned, demand continues to increase for various reasons, from the number of people moving into our area to things like data centers that consume lots of electricity.
Yeah, and that was part of the next question. Is for some reason our area is prime for data centers to come in, and I'm sure low-cost electricity is one of those. And when you were here last time, we talked about this, and I was stunned because when we think TVA, we think, hydroelectric, the dam system along the Tennessee River, and blah 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 blah. And I was stunned at how low the percentage was of hydroelectric power, and you talked about the and I can't remember the exact term, but it's kind of the small nuclear.
Yeah, small modular reactors.
Gotcha. Okay,
yeah.
And kind of give folks an idea of what that's all about, and how that can be one of the saviors of what as we move forward.
Sure. So TVA today, its energy portfolio, its generation portfolio is more than 40% nuclear today. So they have 3 nuclear plants that deliver extremely well for us on a regular basis. Again, 40+% of our power comes from nuclear. So it is reliable. It's on all the time. Those plants will last for decades longer, but we need more nuclear, and we need new nuclear. We need new technology. So TVA is working toward the development of what's called small modular reactors, which takes those big plants and kind of scales them down. The idea is to build one, and then you learn your lessons, then you can build more, better, faster, cheaper. So TVA is on course to do that, and I very much support it.
Yeah, I had a text question here. How will the use of AI contribute to demand, and will that increase be felt by residential consumers?
Yeah, so we're working hard to make sure that that the impact to ratepayers by these emerging data centers that will fuel AI will not have an impact on ratepayers. TVA is working hard on that as well. And the way that will likely happen, I believe, is that these organizations that are working to make AI real, and again, we want AI. We want data centers to come to some extent in our area because we want to be part of the new economy. And they're coming everywhere. And these are not just, economic issues. They're issues that have implications with regard to national security. And again, that's a big conversation. But at the end of the day, I think these organizations that are bringing data centers to life, they will need to hook to the grid, but they'll also need to bring their own money and their own generation sources in some cases to the table. So it's going to be a whole new way of power, of delivering power, enough power to fuel the data center, but also to not impact ratepayers, but to give us more flexibility with regard to the way we distribute and transmit power. So I'm excited about it.
How can the use of AI, speaking of AI, how can it help you guys be even more efficient in the work that you do, as far as, if you, again, folks, if you don't have the MTE app downloaded, please do it, because I think during the ice storm, being able to go on and look at the outage map and from 1 hour to the next, okay, they're getting these folks back on. I think that gave people hope, but obviously that type of technology can only make the way you communicate with your consumers even better.
Yeah, no, agreed. Thank you for that. And I think the bottom line is, Chip, and I'm going to give a very broad-based answer to your question. In Middle Tennessee Electric, TVA, the power industry, we collect so much data that we don't know what to necessarily do with. If we allow AI to interpret that data and help us, we can be more efficient than we are today. And I think as we look out on the future of how AI can help the power industry, it's to make us more efficient, more resilient. So I'm excited about that possibility.
Yeah, you kind of, to get back to where we started, you talked about you have a board that is elected, and that board, guides the progress of the utility. You have your annual meeting coming up normally in July, August, and also you said that the 90th birthday of MTE is coming up in July, I guess.
May 11th.
May 11th. Yeah, I thought I had that, but what does it say about this utility that it has been kind of a standard bearer in this area for such a long time?
Yeah, it's just, I think there's so many virtues to the electric cooperative business model, and when you look across the country at all the different types of utilities there are, electric cooperatives routinely perform best from the standpoint of customer satisfaction. We would call it member satisfaction. So I think it's proven the test of time. There's virtue in the idea of us contributing together toward an electric system that we all own, that benefits us, that we contribute to, that we can shape with regard to governance. So we got history behind us, but I think we got a bright future ahead of us.
Yeah. The one other thing that was a kind of a unintended consequence of the ice storm was the outpouring of concern and help for linemen.
Yes.
And as the son of a lineman, it did my heart good to see how people, would get together and, after the fact and, as a thank you back to those line crews, hey, put together a lunch or whatever to help feed those guys and just let them know, or guys
yes.
and ladies, because I know they're out there, to just thank them for what they did. And so with that, we say thank you publicly to all the folks that did all that. And I know you don't want to go through it again, but I know you learned a lot about yourselves during that storm. But again, hope we don't have to deal with that for quite some time.
I hope we don't either, Chip. So, but I'm very proud of the team and well said about the linemen.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on and being so open with us. I think it means a lot.
My pleasure.
All right, Chris Jones has joined us today. If you missed any of this, always a great hour. You can check it out on the podcast section of WGNSradio.com. Get ready for some warmer weather, folks, and say hello to our visitors who are in town this week for the TSSAA, and we welcome their tax dollars as they spend money in our community. Have a great day, everybody.